Good evening, everybody. I'm meteorologist Austin Stance, and wanted to kind of talk about what's going on this weekend. There's a lot of terms being thrown out there like nor'easter, bomb cyclone. What are all of these things? What do they mean? A lot of times you hear bomb cyclone. What is that? Well, it drops 24 millibars in 24 hours. Well, what does that mean? That's the kind of thing we're going to break down here, how it affects us here in the 4 states, because we still will have an effect by this. And the main driver, or who's going to be affected the most by this is going to be the East Coast and the Northeast. And we'll talk about why here in just a second. So taking a look here, first, everything starts in the upper level of the atmosphere. So we have this deep trough that begins to develop here. That tells us that there's a strong upper level low pressure system there that is beginning to develop. Once that develops in the upper level, we're going to see what's called air divergence aloft that spreads out. And then as pressure drops below that, a surface low pressure, so lower pressure at the surface, begins to develop. And that surface low is called, especially as it develops along the coast here, is called a coastal low. So we're going to see that coastal low develop here along the East Coast. And what's going to happen with that is that's going to turn into a nor'easter. What is a nor'easter? Well, a nor'easter, simply just think about it this way. Winds are coming northeast off the Atlantic Ocean. As that happens, that's going to give fuel to this low pressure, or this coastal low here, and it's just going to feed off of that. The further it is over the ocean, the more intense it's going to be. The more it is over land, the less moisture it's going to have to feed off of. So as it moves east here, it's going to ride the coast here and eventually make its way sort of over the ocean here. And that's going to have a major impact. So the longer that we see winds northeast off the Atlantic, all that air that's coming over the Atlantic Ocean, the longer that travels, the more moisture that is brought into the air, which means the more fuel will be provided to that coastal low. So as that coastal low develops, you run into issues with heavy snowfall. You run into issues with coastal flooding because it's just continuously being fueled by the northeastern winds off the Atlantic Ocean. So that is what a nor'easter is, and that's why it is called a nor'easter, because it's northeastern winds off of the Atlantic here. Now, what is a bomb cyclone? Because what happens sometimes is nor'easters will develop into bomb cyclones. And I don't want you to get confused here, because not all bomb cyclones are nor'easters, but a nor'easter can develop into a bomb cyclone. So what happens here is that that low pressure system in the upper levels, again, it's kind of where we begin once again with a bomb cyclone, is that we start to see that air column. Air divergence means that air is spread out aloft. So we start to see once those millibars drop 24 millibars, which is pressure, in 24 hours, it has officially entered bombogenesis. So once it reaches that level, then what we're seeing, and what that's telling us, is that we're seeing widespread air being spread out aloft in the upper levels of the atmosphere, and all that moist air is happening. And so what happens there is, think of it as a column, right? Up and down. All that air is being taken out of that column and being spread out aloft. So to balance out, the pressure drops very quickly, very significantly. The larger the pressure drop, the more forceful the winds are going to be with this as well. So with a bomb cyclone, you could see winds anywhere from 50 all the way up to 90 miles per hour at times with those wind gusts. So even reaching hurricane force winds at certain times. So that's why a bomb cyclone can be so intense and kind of scary, especially along the northeast coast here, or just the east coast, because what will happen there is, as that moisture is coming off the Atlantic, and it is in a bomb cyclone, just has the ability to continue to sustain all that lift. We see intense lift going on. When we see that millibar drop that quickly, that means that we are seeing very intense and just violent lift into the atmosphere, spreading out all this warm, moist air. And that is going to provide just enough fuel to have consistent, heavy snowfall during the wintertime that could reach anywhere from 2 to 4 inches per hour. So that's why these can be so devastating along the coast here. Now, for us in the 4 states, we're on the back edge of this. So as this trough develops here, what we're seeing is our flow is coming out of the north here. That is going to bring Arctic air into the Joplin area, which means for us, we're going to see temperatures near or below zero this weekend. The unfortunate aspect for the coast, temperatures reaching all the way down to Miami could be near freezing. That's how strong this upper level low is and how deep this trough is and how much that pressure drops. That's what you're seeing on this map here. This is kind of a pressure gradient map, which shows us as this deep trough develops, that signifies a very large pressure drop. So what we're going to expect here is we do expect this low pressure to enter bombogenesis and become a bomb cyclone as it heads towards the northeast. So we're expecting heavy snowfall, strong winds, and it's not moving very fast. This is going to stretch from the Carolinas all the way up to New York. So we are going to be watching that very closely, but I know that there's a lot of information going around. So I really just wanted to break down what a nor'easter was, what a bomb cyclone was, and that's why you're hearing all this terminology being thrown around like that. Regardless of where you are, if you watch this video and you're on the East Coast, beware that you are going to have some very impactful, dangerous conditions heading your way. Here in the 4 states area, we'll be dealing with mainly ice accumulation due to some of the above freezing temperatures that we saw the past 48 hours. That is then, and now as this deep trough begins to develop and changes our flow out of the north, that Arctic air is going to create all that slush that we've been seeing turn into ice accumulation. So some very slick conditions this weekend with dangerously cold temperatures below zero at times as we head into Saturday morning. Again, unfortunately here, for the Northeast, we're going to expect this to kind of last for several days. It's not a very fast moving system. So what we can see here is looking ahead on our map. Here's the trough development here of strong upper level low, starts to make its way down. You notice over Illinois here, and then continues to make its way down. Check this out, this trough all the way down to Florida. Could even see some potential snow in Florida as well. And then here's where we're starting to see this strong surface low develop, which is then going to provide, again, here comes we have the winds coming off from the northwest, from the Atlantic, and here's all that moisture feeding into this now, and snow beginning to develop in the Carolinas there. And again, we could see anywhere from 2 to 4 inches per hour with that. And then notice how it kind of rides along the ocean there. So that's going to continue to provide fuel. This goes all the way throughout the weekend into next week as well. So again, something to keep an eye on, especially if you live along the East Coast or have family along the East Coast. The good news for the Joplin area, we're going to see our flow change as a ridge starts to kind of move into the area. A ridge kind of signifies that we're seeing increase in pressure here, and that is going to change our flow from the north out of the west-northwest, which is going to bring some warmer temperatures into our area as we head into the later part of next week. So I hope this video was a little bit educational, kind of helped explain some of the terminology that you're hearing out there. I think it's important to be able to differentiate or understand the difference between a nor'easter and a bomb cyclone, because while they're both significant, they both have different impacts. All right, guys, I'm meteorologist Austin Stance. Be safe this weekend and have a great evening.